starting. Hey, we're starting. This is us starting. It's Vanessa and friends here for meditation for global healing. Happy Sunday. Everybody's waving. We're all waving. We're all waving. Kristen has hot and 80-degree weather in her place, and I'm freezing in mine, but that's okay. I didn't know what to expect down here. Now I know, but I'm okay. I'll survive. Anyway, so the week before, last week I didn't do it, and my poor daughter was like, "Can we skip again?" I said, "No, we can't skip again.
Aww.
Can't skip again." She just wants me to be by her. I gave her some time. Anyway, so the week before was right before New Year's. It was, right? Yeah. And some of you joined me for New Year's Eve, which was wonderful. I felt it was a really nice way to quietly come into the New Year's, into midnight. My light is a little bright. It's in my face. Anyway, so I really felt pretty complete with that. So I took the week off, or the night off on last Sunday to kind of get back everything for back to school. Anyway, so New Year's Eve coming into 2021. I hope it was glorious. Was it glorious, people? I hope it was glorious. I'm sure for many of you, or some people, think that something magical was going to happen at midnight and everything was going to go in reverse, perhaps, or we would just maybe forget or erase 2020. I don't think that happened, and I think that's okay too, because I'm a person to say that we don't want to forget, right? We don't want to pretend things don't happen, because that doesn't help us in healing. So as I'm reading something right now, trying to figure out what we're going to talk about tonight, don't know if we're going to get into this right now, but it's just so good, so I'm just going to share this picture if you could see it.
What are we chocolate?
I'm going to show you When Things Fall Apart. Show it to you too. When Things Fall Apart, people. That's the title of the book. And of course, the first thing I open to is chapter 17. It's on opinions. So let me read to you just a little snippet of opinions, because you may have heard this from me before, but it's nice to hear it in a book, don't you think? One of the best practices for everyday living is when we don't have much time for meditation, is to notice our opinions. When we are doing sitting meditation, part of the technique is to become aware of our thoughts. Then, without judgment, this is the key, without calling them right or wrong, we simply acknowledge what we are thinking and that we are thinking. It's an exercise in non-aggression towards ourselves. So we were just talking about this right before New Year's. Remember saying, oh, 2020, the most horrible year. We call it the dumpster fire year when we're joking. And we can do that on a daily basis, thinking of what was really good, what was really bad. But the big part here key here is non-judgment. And the reason we want to do non-judgment is because once you start to label everything right or wrong, good or bad, which is human nature, and by the way, I will never beat you up for it. I'll just remind you, because I have to remind myself as well. I'll just say something didn't work today. That wasn't so hot. Didn't feel good. But it's usually useful. Anything that is what we would think is negative or bad has a use. So that's the reminder. Key is non-judgment. And why don't we want to have that judgment? Is because once we have a judgment, we have attachment to it. And that attachment is what can make or break us fully, right? Kristen, did you enjoy losing your keys today?
No.
No, it was a damn good story, though. Just saying.
I saved it for you.
Yes, I know you saved it for me, exactly. So this is I am giving a silly example with her keys, but of course you don't want to have anything annoying happen, bad happen, whatever. But some of these things are reminders. Like, that's probably a reminder for Kristen to maybe slow down. Pay a little bit more attention to what the actions are, causing and stuff like that. So, let's see. When we sit down to meditate, it's not always that ideal. She's talking about having no attached hope or fear or praise or blame. And often noticing that we are thinking, even if it's only for a quarter of a second out of an hour sitting, if you can sit for an hour meditating, God bless you, is accompanied by blame or praise. It's good or bad, and in any case, there's more involved than just labeling it thinking. So Carrie and I were just discussing this today, that awareness that you're actually thinking and what you're thinking about. But here she's actually telling you to release the opinion on it, to release the judgment, because as I was saying, then you're going to form that attachment. My music, I'm telling you, just keeps getting louder and louder. Okay. After we've practiced meditation for a while, because we just sit alone with ourselves, doing nothing but being aware of our out-breath and noticing our thoughts, our minds will become stiller. So she's talking about how if you do this on a daily basis, which is what my hope is for everyone, that you're meditating on a daily basis. It doesn't have to be for an hour long by any means, but just the practice of doing it for a couple minutes at a time, maybe extending it when you can, you're ultimately increasing this awareness and then having more peace in the world. And if you want to know why, it's because you've lost that attachment to it. You can't contribute in any way to aggression in the world. If you have very, very strong and hostile opinions, I don't know if you've ever met anybody that acts like this, guys. You know anybody that acts like this? You start talking about your opinions and right away, boy, they gotta crush that down and tell you theirs, and only their opinions matter. Once that happens, guess what's happening around the world? Like, it just caused a cataclysmic response. There's a chain reaction, and that is why, my friends, your opinions, while they count, while they matter, they should never cause a reaction like that, because it's not going to be good for any of us. So maybe this week you had very strong emotions, right? Which, by the way, the night before everything happened, I was so anxious going to bed. The next day, my husband left me pacing. I don't pace. He's like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "I don't know." So I called a friend. I'm like, "I need to talk. Something's wrong." And then a few hours later, everything came at the Capitol. So, but that's even without an opinion of it. I'm just letting you know there are always going to be emotional responses. Your emotions are never wrong or right or whatever. They just are. And isn't that so much of how even our opinions are formed, right? There's always give and take on everything. So I love that she talks about this, doing this exercise about noticing how your opinions start to build and how they start to form this type of attachment. And then there is, like, she starts introducing the notion of egolessness. That's not easy to say. Egolessness. Ego really is our opinions, which we take to be solid, real, and the absolute truth about how things are. To even have a few seconds of doubt about the solidity and absolute truth of our own opinions, just to begin to see that we do have opinions, introduces us to the possibility of egolessness. Now, if you recall, what I've been talking about so many times is that when you are not attached to divine, this type of ego starts to build and it gets in the way of things. So, hello. So nice to see it in a book, don't you think? So I'm not going to go into this other thing that I really want to go into, but let me think about it. I do just want to let you guys know that I accidentally erased the 2 weeks ago that we did. I have to make a note of that on my page, but
You don't know what the homework was?
very funny. No, the video got erased because I erased the event and it was apparently in the event. Anyway.
She doesn't remember the homework.
I did not type a homework or anything. Your homeworks are now currently when I say it. So if you don't know it, you don't know it. Do you know what the homework was, Kristen? Did you do it?
You'll never know because you don't remember.
She doesn't care. That's really what she's saying.
You'll never know because you don't remember. What
Very, very funny. Okay. So what else is going on? So now we're in 2021 and, there's no magic wand to make everything's perfect, normal, crazy, whatever you want to call it. And all we can do but to go back to ourselves and to our community, our Sangha, our spiritual Sangha. And, I have to say that when I didn't do it last week, even though I was very relieved to just have time to focus for my own things, I could feel it, I could feel that we didn't have that thing going on. I'm sure some of you guys could feel that too. So it's importante. So New Year's, we talked a lot about not having resolutions, but having a continuation of everything. And Kristen, what are you working on currently? Anything great? Putting her on the spot. Nothing? Don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like that. Hey, there's Naners.
I'll look at you how I want.
Oh, right foot. That's okay. I'm gonna go back to my studies then. All right. She's working on, oh, this is a good thing. Working on going to sleep at night. I like that. Hey Heidi. Hey Dave. Hey Mary.
Me too, Kristen.
Me too,
I
Kristen.
forgot all the tools last week. Sometimes twice.
Yeah. All right. Maybe I am going to go into a tiny bit of this. In chapter 19, she talks about the 3 methods for working with chaos. Now, this is a big thing, so I'm going to kind of skim it, but I thought it was pretty interesting. Who's loud over there? Muting you. Okay. So we practice from liberating ourselves from burden. The burden of now or perspective caused by craving, aggression, ignorance, and fear. We're burdened by the people with whom we live, by ongoing daily situations, and most of all by our own personalities. And through practice, we realize that we don't have to obscure the joy and openness that is present in every moment of our existence. We can awaken to basic goodness, our birthright. And I'm going to repeat that because sometimes you may forget that your birthright is basic goodness, happiness, enjoying things. When we're able to do this, we no longer feel burdened by depression, worry, or resentment. Life feels spacious, like the sky and the sea, and there's room to relax and breathe and swim. How do we work with a sense of burden? How do we learn to relate what seems to stand between us and the happiness we deserve? How do we learn to relax and connect with fundamental joy? Now, she wrote this, gosh, I think this was the 90s. I think it was the 90s. But basically, well, this is 2000, that's when it was probably reprinted. Okay, anyway. She wrote, times are difficult globally. First sentence. Times are difficult globally. Awakening is no longer a luxury or an ideal. It's becoming critical. We don't need to add more depression, more discouragement, or more anger to what's already here. It's becoming essential that we learn how to relate sanely with difficult times. The earth seems to be beseeching us to connect with joy and discover our innermost essence. This is the best way that we can benefit others. See how she writes, this is the best way we can benefit others. She's telling us the earth, the universe, God, spirit wants us to do what? Find joy. Isn't that amazing? And that's our whole purpose. I love it. Now I'm not going to tell all the references because a lot of it's in Sanskrit stuff, but there are 3 traditional methods for relating directly with difficult circumstances as a path of awakening and joy. The first method we'll call no more struggle. The second, using poison as medicine. And the third, seeing whatever arises as enlightened wisdom. These are the 3 techniques for working with chaos, difficulties, and unwanted events in our daily lives. So I'm going to give you the skim version of it too, okay? The first method, no more struggle, is epitomized by, again, shamatha, vipassana instruction. Forgive me, everybody that knows what they're saying. When we sit down to meditate, whatever arises in our minds, we look at directly, call it thinking, and go back to the simplicity and immediacy of the breath. Again and again, we return to pristine awareness, free from concepts. So she's basically saying that meditation is how we stop fighting. We stop fighting with ourselves, how we stop struggling with circumstances, emotions, or moods. It's a basic tool we can use to train in our practice in our lives. Non-judgmental attitude. I'm sorry I'm having a difficult time talking tonight with the Invisalign. Okay, so I'm skimming. I'm going to give you the primary method for working with painful situations, global pain, domestic pain, or any pain at all. We can stop struggling with what occurs and see it for its true face without calling it the enemy. Again, going back to that non-judgmental awareness, letting out of good and bad, and just seeing the facts, being aware of everything. Okay, let's see. The second method of working with chaos is using poison as medicine. So interesting. We can use difficult situations, poison, as fuel for waking up. In general, this idea is introduced with Tonglen. When anything difficult arises, any kind of conflict, any notion of unworthiness, anything that feels distasteful, embarrassing, or painful, instead of trying to get rid of it, we breathe it in. The 3 poisons are passion, this includes craving or addiction, aggression, and ignorance, which includes denial or the tendency to shut down and close out. Pretty profound, guys. Kristen, it looks like you're looking at Carrie. We would usually think of these poisons as something bad, something to be avoided. But that isn't the attitude here. Instead, they become seeds of compassion and openness. When suffering arises, the Tonglen instruction is to let the storyline go and breathe it in, and not just the anger, resentment, or loneliness that we might be feeling, but the identical pain of others who in this very moment are also feeling rage, bitterness, or isolation. And we breathe it in for everybody. So what is she really talking about here? She's saying that we're going to take it in for everyone. So anybody that's dealing with depression right now, anybody that's enraged right now, anybody that's sad right now, etc., etc. I'm not just going to do it for myself. I'm going to do what for you? I'm going to hold space for you. She's ultimately talking about holding space for others and empathizing with their same emotion. Anybody that's experiencing what I'm experiencing, I'm going to take that time and I'm going to hold that space for you. That's amazing. And that's what we've been talking about all along. But to hear it in a different way, labeling it as this is a poison. So just to go back to what poison is, the 3 poisons are passion. This includes craving or addiction, aggression, and ignorance, which includes denial or the tendency to shut down and close out. And that I will make a note that I'll type that out for you guys. Okay. Even though all of this is magic, I'm going to skip to the 3rd part. The 3rd method for working with chaos is to regard whatever arises as the manifestation of awakened energy. We can regard ourselves as already awake. We can regard our world as already sacred. Traditionally, the image used for regarding whatever arises as the very energy of wisdom is the charnel guard. In Tibet, the charnel guards were what we call graveyards, but they weren't quite as pretty as ours today. The bodies were not under nice smooth lawns. I'm going to skip that. She's basically discussing how graphic it was and how it wasn't pretty at all. Okay. Perhaps the closest thing to this in our world is not a graveyard, but a hospital emergency room. That could be the image for our working basis. She's talking about the realm of human functions here. It smells, bleeds, stuff like that. Regarding what arises as awakened energy reverses our fundamental, habitual pattern of trying to avoid conflict, trying to make ourselves better than we are, and trying to smooth things out and pretty them up, trying to prove that pain is a mistake and it would not exist in our lives if only we did all the right things. This is a big thing. This includes like sickness, illness, health issues like that. So people that, get anything bad in their lives, you'll start to hear things question God. They blame it, or they try to make it pretend like it's not really happening. And there's this urge to smooth it over and make it pretty. This view turns that particular pattern completely around, encouraging us to become interested in looking at the charnel ground of our lives as the working basis for attaining enlightenment. So let's see. She's talking about what happens in our daily lives when we panic. And how do we deal with those demons, which are basically our hopes and fears? How do we stop struggling against ourselves? So we're trying to learn not to split ourselves between our good side and our bad side, our pure and impure feeling of being wrong. So this dualism, she's really talking about forgetting the fight against it. Okay, hold on. Thank God I can skim really fast. Okay. In every moment of time, we make a choice. Which way do we go? How do we relate to the raw material of our existence? So instead of transforming, instead of ignoring pain, I should say, she's talking about embracing pain, embracing it, discovering it. She talks about embracing the demons in your life, and this is a big thing and maybe too much to talk about in a few minutes, but instead of pushing it away, we can breathe it in and wish that everyone could stop hurting. That includes everyone. Remember, like the first week of global meditation, I talked about how you don't just pray for the people that you like. You don't just meditate for the people that you like. So this is all about that. Third, we can acknowledge that suffering exists, that darkness exists, that chaos in here and the chaos out there. This is basic energy, the play of wisdom. Whether we regard our situation as heaven or as hell depends on our perception. And I love that she just goes, finally, couldn't we just lighten up? Just relax and lighten up. Can we just do that? Every time we sit down to meditate, we can think of it as training to lighten up, to have a sense of humor, to relax. As one student said, lower your standards and relax as it is. So I'll put the sign up again, the book up again. It's a sign. I thought it was a sign when I picked it up, but since I don't read anymore, right? Here you go, take that.
Can you post the book?
Of course I'm going to post the book. I'm going to post my gorgeous, wonderful face with that book. And highlight it again. Oh, we don't need to hear my voice yet. Hold on a second, lady. Calm down. So hey, Candace. So just echoing, all these things that we've been saying for all these many, many weeks, hearing in a book from a very, very famous woman who studies so much about divinity, and simplifying in the sense of, remember, like that non-judgmental feeling, it can be a curse if you don't let go of it, because that attachment starts to create these narratives in our world, our whole world, and it's pervasive. So tonight's meditation, I think it's going to be a little bit about lighten up. I'm not really sure. I'm never really sure what I'm going to give you. Could be about a cat, a girl and her cat. I don't know. Renee, I'll take you off mute. Sorry.
She's getting feisty.
Henrietta's flicking at us. But yeah, let's go into the darkness and the light, because I always embrace the darkness. I think it's wonderful. In fact, I'm probably one of the few people lately that I enjoy winter in a very different manner nowadays. I enjoy that silence, that closeness, that darkness. But let's do both. Let's enjoy the dualism tonight. So, my friends, because I gave you so much information and I read, and Kristen just keeps putting her foot in my face, let us go into a relaxation state. Lean back wherever you are or lie down. Find your comfortable seated position. And as you start to invite that quietness, that stillness, contact that breath. And just start noticing everything. Notice your body. Notice where it is in time and space. If you're sitting up, notice where the objects are around you. How much space you have in between. If you're reclined, you can notice the same thing, just feeling the room around you. And if you ever noticed in like moments where you're supposed to be settling down, sometimes you've maybe forgotten to do something like, oh, I wish I had brought that water over here. Oh, I should have taken the other blanket. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. And maybe you stop yourself from doing that. But you may have also noticed that when you listen to those little voices, you can really quell them really fast if you just do it. So listen to the voices, the good voices, and say, oh, you know what? I'm going to go get that water real fast. I'm going to do this so I can settle down. And just get back into the body. You want to be as comfortable as possible. I once had another yoga teacher ask me my opinion on Shavasana, corpse pose. She had been taught that it should be very traditional, just in pure corpse pose, meaning like no bolsters, just lying a certain way with the arms out, with the palms up. Everything had to be exactly how it was instructed. And I understood that because they say corpse pose is really the hardest to attain, because it's such a stillness, and it's but so active in so many ways. But my opinion was no, because if I want people to be really comfortable, I want them to be able to focus only on contacting their breath and not worried about an ache in their back. I want them to just build awareness, one thing at a time. And that was my feeling on it. But again, non-judgmental, because I said, yeah, if that's what feels good for you, right? So as you're coming into your body, find that same awareness. Notice any thoughts. Just identify them as thoughts and let them move on. You may think that you're not meditating correctly or that you're not good at it. But even if you get 2 more seconds tonight than you did last time, or doesn't matter if you get less than you did the time before, just the effort of showing up and redirecting the thoughts, allowing them to happen and then passing them by. It all counts, it all works. So we're going to talk about that dualism. I don't banish darkness. I like to think of it as space. Space for things to happen, things to, create that fertile void that you may have heard me talk about before. It's space. So tonight, as you came into the new year, maybe you felt a shift, maybe you heard fireworks, maybe all of the above. Maybe you were loud, maybe you were quiet. If you were with me, you were hearing my Tibetan singing bowl for 5 minutes. So to release these expectations of how New Year's will be, even releasing all the memes, whether or not they're funny, doesn't really matter. Just letting go of them, because you continue to draw attention to the stuff and all the stuff that's keeping us back. So as we release that, we're going to embrace it. Tonight, God, I embrace anything that happens. I embrace being present in the moment, starting now. And you'll complete in your mind, in my body I feel. In my body I feel. Every very slow inhale that you take, and every long exhale you express. In my body I feel. And if it's something you don't want, instead of banishing it, I just want you to explore it. Your body talks to you all the time, all the time. Sometimes we don't get to listen if we're too busy. Sometimes we're just too distracted, but it's always talking to you. So if you're a little uncomfortable or a lot or not at all, just noticing that and embracing that feeling on the next breath. We're going to reshape our feelings of dark, even things that we call shadows, things that we call negative. We're going to reshape that. I tend to use the word shadows instead of negatives because we all have that side to us. I'm just going to embrace it, becoming aware of those possibilities. Feel your entire body being supported. So feel all the pieces of your body, each fingertip, fingernail, each joint. If you're not fully cushioned, I want you to imagine that you're fully supported. And let's make it a little light by a giant marshmallow. Fully supported by a giant marshmallow. Maybe if you're lucky, your bed, it feels like a giant marshmallow sometimes. I don't really want you to feel that. What is it like to have your head completely supported, neck fully enveloped, all the curves of your body able to just rely and just be as is? And then you'll contact the breath again, as if you're calling up an old friend. Say, hi, I'm here, and I'd like to take a deep, deep breath. Feeling everything fill up, all the way up, right into the heart area, the throat area. Feel it go all the way up, that high up. And then as you release it, let everything just slowly fade down. And noticing what it's like to have your fingers fully relaxed, open palm. Notice how the fingers curve gently in their relaxed position. Notice how they want to come in a little bit like a mitten, keeping each other warm and supported. I want you to find yourself in the center of water. So I'm not giving you a basis of where the water is or what kind of water it is. I just want to see you standing in the center of water. I'm not even telling you how high up it comes on your body. But just know that you're safe, completely calm, fully comfortable. Now experiencing a different way of support. We went from that marshmallowy feeling to this almost jello-like water support. Okay, things are going to pick up speed a little bit for a few minutes. So you find yourself in that middle of the water. Now you're going to allow yourself to completely float. Again, I always like to say water has that jelly-like surface tension, right? So I want you to express that on your fingertips. I want you to feel your whole body just barely breaking surface tension here, feeling that gel-like connection to the water. And then you're going to start to swim. So if your water seemingly not big enough, like if you were in a bathtub, suddenly it is. There's plenty of room, there's plenty of space, and you're going to swim however you want. Even if you're just doggy paddling, you are the most expert doggy paddler around. So everything is safe, confident, healthy, and you're going to explore this swimming. You're going to allow yourself to go as fast as you can, really, really fast swimming. Very, very confident. And now you're going to give yourself a goal. Where are you swimming to? What do you see in the distance that you want to get to? But just focusing on the swimming first, just going there, allowing yourself to let your heart rate go, let all your fears go. The water doesn't matter if it gets in your eyes. You're just having a blast. And let yourself be here for the next few breaths until I give you further direction, going as fast as you can now, kicking your feet, just flailing, having fun. And as quick as you started, stop wherever you are, floating on your back. Noticing now that the sky that's far above you has turned very dark. But instead of it feeling like nighttime, it's going to be like a painting. It's like suddenly someone around you has decided to paint it an inky blue black. But you've already reached your place, your landing. And you're going to come walk on land. And things around you are starting to turn exactly like that, cartoonish, like a painting. And you find a very giant, big tree that looks like a paintbrush. It's very light though. So you're going to take this giant paintbrush and you're going to start to color things around you. And you're going to use the water as your paint. Whatever color you want. First you're going to start painting the land. Because everything in our meditations are magic. You don't need to mix the colors or change them. They just change whenever you think it. You can erase things around you and start all over again. And maybe you've noticed that a friend or two has joined you. Think of it as the ultimate paint night. Make sure whatever you're painting involves laughter. Lighten up. And here, when we give you the free reign of just lightening up and painting whatever you want, I just want you to notice what you're doing. What are you painting? Who's around you? What are you laughing at? If you can't think of anything to paint, maybe your friend rescues you and paints something really, really silly on you. There are no rules in meditation. You're simply drawing your breath in and out and noticing things. And maybe you didn't realize that your name tags got switched around and there's a stranger that comes and they're calling you something silly and you don't know why. And you're going to laugh at that too. And the best thing in this visual is that you and your friends are going to go into a giant hug. Really big. So maybe start off one-on-one and then just nice big standing hug, falling over, cuddle puddle type thing. Good. You're all going to take one giant dip in this water again. This time the water is nice and deep, but now they've painted the daylight around you. So there's a beautiful bright sky out, big fluffy white clouds, and you're all going to float on your backs for a few breaths. And you're going to hold hands like sea otters. It was really good when you were alone, but it's also really good when you're together. And now somebody's starting to splash, and you guys are going to run back onto the land, and the land starts to extend really, really long. So you get to go exploring. So maybe first you're on sand, and now things are changing. The terrain is changing. You're going to take your giant paintbrush, and you're going to paint a really, really tall coconut tree. And the first one gets up to the top is going to shake down all the coconuts. And these coconuts are special. They are not as hard as you think. So they're perfect enough that you can just take a tiny little paintbrush and pop them open like a straw and start to enjoy. In the center of this island, there's a giant trampoline, and you and your friends are going to go there. You're going to take 5 coconuts with you, but these are even softer. They're more like squishy balls. And you're going to take them with you and go jump on that trampoline and throw them at each other. In the center is still that watery type liquid, and you're going to throw it, and just like water balloons, they're going to pop all over you, and you're going to get super, super sticky. Jump, jump, jump. See who can jump the highest. When you're done jumping, you're going to go explore this island, and I want you to find that rocky terrain again. This time it's less cartoon-like, it's more realistic. It hurts your feet a little bit to go on it, so you're kind of tentative. But at the end of it, you see something really cool. There's this like watery pool with a little waterfall coming down, trickling off the side of a small mountain. There's basically an oasis that you really want to get to, but you got to go on this terrain, and you're barefoot. So each step has some pain involved. Each step has some feelings of unpleasantness, we'll say. But you've decided in your mind where you want to be, where you want to go. The first few steps, you both all scream. And then eventually those painful steps are going to turn into laughter as you less mindfully and more playfully just run across. And you're almost there. You're going to make it really fast. That wasn't so comfortable, but now you're laughing it off. You're going to run really fast. You're going to jump into that little oasis over there. It's almost steaming up. And you're going to have more fruit. How about some pineapple and strawberries? And who's giving it to you? It's your meditation. Maybe you see somebody you really like, and they're going to hand it to you, feed it to you, whatever it is. The last visual here going into that darkness that seems bad at first or hard at first, we're going to go walk from this oasis, and we're going to willingly go into a cave. And the cave is pretty narrow. It's pretty narrow, and you're going to have to get on your belly. And since we've been swimming, you're still pretty wet. It's a little rough underneath. Maybe you're feeling uncomfortable because it's so small. And this time you don't know what the end brings. You don't know if it's going to be fun. You don't know if it's going to be pretty. You just don't know. So take a moment here to make that decision. Obviously, we're ultimately going to decide to go through. But take a moment to encompass those feelings of, fear, possibility of failure, just not knowing. And maybe you even take a couple breaths and talk it out to somebody that's with you. And then you're going to let your soul come to the realization that this is the way forward. This is the way. And you're going to willingly make that agreement to press on. So as you allow yourself to crawl down deep inside this cavernous place, into that darkness, hearing only your own breath, feeling your thoughts pounding possibly in your mind against that wall. But knowing, the only thing that you do know, is that it will pass. And you don't know how you know that, you just know it. So 5 more breaths of discomfort, allowing it to feel uncomfortable. And you're going to get as far as you can go. And then even though nobody's speaking, you can just feel that energy that everybody's going through that same feeling, that same thing. As we spoke of before, I breathe it out for myself and for you, those who are experiencing the same. And as you do this, some power starts to take over. And you're not only able to get through this tiny space, uncomfortable place of darkness. And when you come out, it's not even pretty. But there's openness. And you can feel and you can sense the space around you before there's any light. You can feel it. And in the darkness, you'll find each other's hands. You'll find the pulse of your friends, the pulse of your strangers around you, all that have been through that same. And you'll take that deep inhale all together, acknowledging the soul agreement that you had made. That you had stayed with that discomfort, that you had allowed the darkness. And then as you've embraced all that, without any more trying, things start to lighten up. And you're back in that painting feeling. You're back in that form of fun. And you come back and you're just lying back in your space where you are right now. Feeling the comfort of your friends, whether near or far, knowing that they're not just in this with you, that they're willing to go through it, that we are choosing to not struggle anymore, to pretend there is no depression, to pretend that nothing bad is happening or good is happening, and just stop pretending and stop thinking that it's all good or bad. Just knowing that we're together. And you'll slowly put your hands on your heart and come back to that place of that silliness, that feeling of jumping on the trampoline, of throwing things at each other. Come back to being with each other in fun. And then one more imagery of that painting. So on your body, I want you to trace something silly right over your heart. Nobody's there to look or judge. We're going to visualize a color, probably using your index finger, and just painting something right over your heart. So in so many cultures and ancient spiritual teachings, we have symbols, and they really hold this power, and they hold that power because people believe them too. And so in Reiki, we have sacred symbols that we use for so many things, but now you're taking whatever you drew on yourself as your symbol and implanting that with intention and love and fun. So take a moment to smile before fully coming to awareness. So you can stay however you're sitting or lying if you'd like. If you're going to hang out with us for a few more minutes, I'll have my friends on Zoom unmute themselves momentarily, and we'll hang around and laugh and talk. And if you're not going to hang with us, then I wish you a wonderful evening, remembering to release all these thoughts of how good and bad everything is, and just, be with it. And if you need help being with it, then call upon us, and we'll be your sounding board and work through things together. But just remember, if you find yourself hyperventilating, overly opinionated, and super aggressive, then just take a moment to check yourself and realize that it's maybe time to meditate or take a pause. Okay, guys, and I'll post about that book later on. Okay, so if you're hanging out with us, feel free. Hi, guys. I'm just going to lower this a little bit. Hi, Billy.
I came for the hangout.
Yeah, you came for the hangout.
Yeah.
Notice how quick I muted you.
Huh?
I said, notice how quick I muted you as I was doing the
No,
meditation.
I didn't realize I was,
It's funny.
yeah, I didn't realize I was on. I'm sorry.
Hey, Candace, you're welcome. It's good to see you on here. Hope you got a kick out of that.
Hey, Carrie.
Hey, Billy.
Oh, I got you on. That's good.
Hi, Renee.
Renee's sleeping with the cat.
Chopped liver? Really?
What am I, chopped liver?
What is that?
So, did you guys jump?
I couldn't meditate with you, but I listened while I was working, and it was very calming.
Oh, I'm glad.
So I did a half meditation.
Candace said, me and my clowns and chipmunks. I love that. It's so cute.
I need to watch it.
Oh, you left
I
us?
had to get distracted. Mom needed me. Got
Okay.
Distracted.
What does she think? It's her birthday or something?
No, mistakes in her checking account. She was
Oh, we don't have to know. Okay.
First, the cat decided to practically lay on my face while I was trying to meditate when we first laid down.
That's love.
And I started to go ahead and get a Benadryl.
Oh my gosh.
And then Mom called me.
All right, guys, I'm going to say goodnight to you all, and otherwise pop on Zoom and talk to us. All right. Love you.